Yeah, he's very, very famous architect. Designed a lot of football stadiums up and down the country. He was responsible for building the East End and many other parts of the old White Hart Lane. And again, Ken, if you'd read the book, you'd know it.
I don't know who the architect was.
Archibald Leach.
Ah.
Oh, I was able to answer that.
You didn't even
I thought that was a bonus for Tim on his question. Never mind.
No, it's a bonus for anyone. But you didn't know it, did you, Ken?
No, I did not.
No, there you go.
I remember when you said it, but I didn't remember.
All right. Last question. Okay. Where was Osvaldo Ardiles loaned during the Falklands skirmish?
Tim.
Tim.
Wasn't it Paris Saint-Germain?
Yes.
Oh, it is. Yes, it was. PSG. Yes. 1 point.
Well done, Tim.
All right. So let's see. Tim had 2 rights. That's 10 points plus his bonus. He's got 20. Ken got 3 right. 15 plus his bonus is 25. Plus he gets the 10 for winning the round. 35 points.
Get in. I think I passed
Ken, 20 for Tim. I'll tally those up before the end of the quiz and give you guys a running total of where everyone is.
Lovely.
Well done.
Love it. Very proud. Dave Mackay. Love remembering all that.
Those bonus points.
I was hoping you'd get those. I really did.
Those bonus points are going to come in real handy when we get to the end of this with that table. Vass, Sam, sorry you had to miss those 10 points. Those were tough questions.
Is Sam even on the podcast anymore? It's been like 5 weeks. I love you, Sam. I miss you. You need to come see me.
He sat next to me this weekend.
Did he? At the pub?
He did.
How was the turnout, Tim? I obviously wasn't there working.
It wasn't bad. I think it'll be better next week now that we've won and we have a big match and it's the party. But
it's the world famous Dallas Spurs Crimbo party. We'll talk about that in a little bit.
But Sam and I were matching. We had our 84 UEFA Cup shirts on.
Did you have your friendship bracelets on too?
No, we didn't. We should have.
Was he wearing his glasses, or did you take the lenses out of your old ones just so you could match?
He actually wasn't wearing them, and I kept trying to show him things on my phone, and he couldn't see it.
Nice.
Like what time the podcast starts today.
Yeah. Great 5-a-side questions. Do love that. Do appreciate the segment. This has actually been a lot of fun. Winter transfer window initial discussion. Kind of let's get this thing kicked off. I know the winter window kicks off here in about 2.5 weeks, somewhere in there. Tim, your initial thoughts. You and Sam do a lot of research on suggested people that Spurs may go after. If you are a listener, and I know that there's at least 6 or 7 of you out there that have inquiries that you want Sam and Tim, myself and Chairs to do some research on, comment on, give our thoughts on, whether it be winter, pre-contract, sales in the summer even, that we could be looking at. Put those names in, and we'll put something out on the Twitter page as well, and Facebook, and monitor that and kind of see how things are going. But Tim, your initial thoughts going into this winter window. I'm very interested.
I mean, normally I don't expect us to do anything in January because we don't. I mean, it's been season after season. We don't make any moves in January. But I think this year it's going to be different. And it's based on comments Pochettino made this past week, where he just flat out said, we need to sign players in January and bring them in 6 months before. And he said, if not, we're going to compete in the same period as City and United, Liverpool and Chelsea, and we're going to struggle to bring in the players we want. Because when you get into competing with those clubs in the summer, especially right now, building the stadium with the costs having gone up way more than expected, almost doubled what the budget was, we're just not going to be able to compete if you get in a bidding war. And so you need to bring those players in right now. And he pointed to Delhi being a very good example of how we did that.
Yeah.
But then he also said, in January it's difficult to find the right profile of the player you want to add to help you achieve what you want. So January is a very tricky window, but I think those statements directly, coupled with the fact that we're going into a World Cup summer and they've moved back the transfer window. So now it closes before the season starts for the Premier League. So you're going to have a shorter transfer window. Players aren't going to be signing deals while they're off at the World Cup. So I think we're going to see some moves made this January that normally we just don't do that. So I'm actually excited about a winter transfer window for once.
Yeah, this is one of those segments where I really want to get Sam on because I can already see him jumping up and down and wanting to make comments about how this is going to work, and especially with it being a shortened window, how quickly we need to act. And not only that, but who are our big players in terms of recruiting and scouting, and what are they doing, where are they located, and maybe who are some of those names of kids that we are going to be looking at. Obviously, the one that jumps out is Ryan Sessegnon, and do we loan him immediately back to Fulham? If we can make that happen, I'm already hearing $50 million that Fulham want for that kid. So we'll see what we can afford. We'll talk about and discuss realistically who we can go after. I've seen a lot of Bale talk today on a couple of pages, and it's just absolutely does my head in. It's ridiculous. That is not going to happen unless they send him back in pieces. He's already off injured, and that's not what we need. I hate saying it. I wish him the best, but I will say it right here and now. I don't believe he's ever going to play for Tottenham again. So, Tim, let's move into your injury update. We have Brighton on Wednesday, Man City on the weekend. The Man City side especially, I'm anxious to see if there's anybody out there that's really not doing well for them. But, Timmy, hamstrings, niggles, what do you got?
Timmy, get out the Ben Gay. You know what time it is. Groin pull, deep thigh bruise.
All right, looking ahead to this upcoming week with injuries, start off with Brighton. They only got one player out, Steve Sidwell. He's still recovering from back surgery. Looking at City, though, and I'm so glad we recorded today after their match because there has been something that has happened. City could be going into this game with us with only Mangala and Otamendi as their healthy center backs. John Stones is already out with a groin injury. Company came into their derby match against United with some injury concerns, and he had to be subbed out at halftime. Pep indicated that they could be without him for a lengthy period, and he said, this is just Vincent. He's always injured. You can't count on him for a long period of time. And right now, he really didn't give any update other than he's injured. So I think you keep an eye on Company, but I think both John Stones and Vincent Kompany are going to miss our match next weekend. Couple that with Benjamin Mendy, who's still out with his ACL tear. So you defenders for them that they could be missing. And then lastly, you have Fabian Delph. He missed Man United with an illness. So given that it was just an illness, I would expect him to recover, but not expect him to make much of an impact if play in this match. For Tottenham, you have Toby continuing his rehab. He has a scan plan for this upcoming week to assess his progress, so we'll see where it's at. Thankfully, this week, Pochettino dismissed some of those claims that he could be out for 14 weeks, saying that was lost in translation, that he could be out 14 weeks if he re-injured it, but we're kind of past that point of the re-injury. We're taking it slow with him. He's recovering it well. So I don't think we'll see any of that potential 14-week injury from Toby. With Wanyama, there are also some false headlines out there this week saying that he had formally returned to training with the first team. Well, what happened was he was continuing his conditioning indoors. First-team players who didn't play against Apoel came indoors to the training. So because they were in the same place, people said he's returned to first-team training. That's not the case. He's still training on his own. They went outdoors after Apoel, and he was just running on his own on the side. Pochettino has said he hopes him to be back before the new year. So looking into that January congestion where we have 3 games in 5 days, it'll be very good if Wanyama's ready to start in those matches. But Toby and Wanyama, they still seem to be on track, still recovering, don't have a definite timeline for when we will see either of them back.
All right. right, thanks, Timmy. That was Tim's injury update. As always, one of our favorite subjects here. Other podcasts, they look at the youth and players out on loan and some of the other players that are associated with the club that aren't playing with the first team. I like doing the injuries. I think it adds a little different dimension to our podcast versus some others, and that's always good.
And I will give you one more. It's not an injury, but yellow card watch for City. We know Company's on 4, but like I said, he's injured. He's not likely to play. But Fernandinho is also on 4 yellows. They have Swansea midweek, so if Fernandinho picks up, we'll see him missing as well.
Nice. All right.
I'm not worried about Company. He's shit.
He's more injured than Wilshere.
Yeah,
shit, man.
yeah.
Good gravy. Man City, Chairs, when you look at this matchup, and obviously I look at this and it's like I would celebrate a point instantaneously. But I also feel that this is a team that can be had. Did United's match today, I don't know if you watched any of it. I did not.
I did. I watched it.
Okay. Did they offer anything that says, you know what, Spurs do that well? We could hang with these guys and maybe get a result here?
Well, I was doing a lot of stuff on my laptop while the game was going on, but I was watching the exciting parts, which were few and far between. It was played at a frantic pace, which is obviously how I think it will be played with us. But United, after going down 2-1, really had a great chance. They had a cross from the left that Lukaku hit point blank. It's almost as if it went right into the keeper's throat. And he went down after he made the second stop, which was just going to be a tap-in at that point, and it was cleared. So, it could have been 2-2 if it wasn't for his heroics at the end. But, it was a game that I thought United, once they got back into it, might be able to turn the tide. But I think they really missed Pogba today. And, all the pundits have said that it's up to United today and us next weekend to really put a chink in City's armor to see if perhaps they are fallible and likely to drop points as this season progresses. And,
right.
Obviously United didn't do it at home. So, City's still got to play a lot of other teams, including us twice, but it's a daunting task. But you know what? I think we're up for it. I'm not going to sit here and say, I know I've already said it, and I said it on social media, we're going to smash them to bits, but it's going to be a highly entertaining game.
Yeah.
We like playing there. We know it is the one club of the so-called Big Six where we've got most of the good results from an away perspective. So I really think we'll be up for it, and I think we'll give them a run. It can be a proper ding-dong of a game. I think they have weaknesses at the back. I would love for us to just run Kyle Walker off the park. Yeah. And obviously that's going to be the interesting dynamic in this game. But, it's going to be tough, no doubt about it. But I'll tell you what I'm thinking when we get to predictions.
All right. Well, speaking of that, let's go ahead and move on into the Community Beer Company Mosaic IPA predictions. This one is a little interesting. Brighton, look, we're all going to pick a win, and we're going to feel very confident about that. And as a Spurs fan, you ought to be extraordinarily just afraid of that. City has some intrigue to it. Obviously, Pep's comments about the whole Harry Kane team thing. Does that hold any weight with Pochettino? We're bound to find out. Pochettino is very level-headed. He's not going to make any comments that usually waver outside of some very narrow lines that he keeps in terms of his public speaking, especially when it comes to football. But let's go ahead and move right on into these predictions. Tim, I'll start with you. Brighton at Wembley on Wednesday. What do you think?
Brighton on Wednesday. I'm gonna go with continuing this form, 3-0 victory.
I like that. What about you, Chairs?
Brighton is a stubborn team. I know. Was it 2-0 they lost to Huddersfield yesterday? Yeah. I think both goals came in the first. Yeah. Both goals came in the first half. We haven't played Brighton for, over 30 years now. I love Chris Hughton to death, proper Tottenham legend.
Yep.
Don't want to embarrass him, but I think it's 3 points for the Lily Whites, and I'm going to go 2-0.
I'm going to